Hi, I'm Austin, Director of Product Development at Griffin Armament, and today we were going to discuss the Center Firearms patent debacle with Otter Creek Labs, the suppressor company. Basically, I got the news as everybody else did in the same way with the various press releases and stuff like that. And I went and took a look at the patents. And the patents I would put in a class of patents where they are almost intentionally confusingly worded to the extent that I'm not even 100% sure what they're trying to protect or what they think they can protect. In reading those patents, I got the impression that essentially Center Firearms had printed suppressors out of plastic, and the patents really pertain to printing suppressors in plastic. They were trying to extend that to printing suppressors in metal. There is like light mention of metal in at least one of the patents. There's 3 different patents here, the first of which is a 2013 patent. And they talk about a monolithic suppressor printed without seams or joints. And they also use words, I think at times, like the suppressor core. So it's difficult to understand whether they're talking about printing the complete suppressor, printing just the baffle core. What exactly the patent pertains to is confusing. But I recall, somebody brought it to my attention here, and my initial thoughts were, because, the history I'm about to talk to you about is so ancient that it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind. So my initial reaction was, take a look at these patents. I also saw the one pertaining to purposely induced porosity that essentially is used by PTR. And the odd thing about the PTR patent is that the PTR patent discusses regular arrangement of a feature. So like, in other words, in my opinion, that with the verbiage of not randomly placed, I think it says. Not randomly placed is kind of how all porting has been done in silencers over all time that I'm aware of, is we've done patterns of holes, generally speaking. I mean, actually, there's some instances where a hole is put in an asymmetric location. It's not randomly located there, it's intentionally located there, but it's not random, if not random is to mean symmetrical. For a portion of a day, a couple of hours, I was sitting there thinking, how do I digest these patents and how do we work moving forward? And then I had a memory and I was like, wait a minute, we printed silencers in R&D in 2009, 10, 11 timeframe. We actually printed a fully monolithic suppressor that we just tapped threads into and shot. And so I was sitting there and I was like, wait a minute, I also demonstrated that to the public. And I also disclosed that to Neil Parker, the author of Firearms Suppressor Patents, a book in the industry space with foreword written by Al Paulson. And I went and I was able to find the email disclosure to Neil Parker, things we're going to show you today. And I was able to find a video of the demonstration to a member of the public, and I was able to contact that person and get his sworn statement. So I have 2 disclosures.
Yeah. It's not bad at all.
Let me see on.
And full disclosure, I approached Ryder at Center Firearms with the intent to essentially say, hey, can you give us an agreement to essentially be free licensed in exchange for us just kind of going back to work? And He was very difficult to initially get a hold of. After we got a hold of him, we had a brief dialogue. I was a little annoyed during the dialogue. The whole thing is a frustrating waste of our time. And we sent him an email, and then he never responded to it. I sent him a second email, and literally while I was typing it, I remembered. And in the first email, I said, I'm the original inventor of this thing, because as far as I know, I'm the only person who printed a silencer before you, and I printed a monolithic one, and I've got 2 years priority to you, which in the US, the way patents work, you can only patent something up to 1 year after a disclosure has been made. So when we're January 30th disclosing this invention to a member of the public and also disclosing it in email correspondence to another person in the industry, we're essentially making those disclosures, making this prior art a year after that point in time and publicly available prior art. The second email, while I'm typing it, I realized, wait a minute, I didn't invent this. Doug Olson did, because I was talking to Doug Olson in 2009. The discussion was pertaining to thermal management of a suppressor. And Doug essentially outlines, hey, yeah, in my opinion, if we use, the ideal thing to use would be electron beam melting, which if you look up GE, Equilibrium Additive Division, they have EBM machines, which are very similar to SLM, the machines that everybody in the industry at this point is thinking about when they think about printed suppressors. They differ in that they use different shielding gases. I think helium is used, and the welding provides fully dense material, but at the cost of a slightly crappier surface finish. And there's some other differences, but they're very similar technologies. So Doug mentions that he would prefer to use an EBM melting machine, and that you take the 3D files, you can put as many different files in a build as you want, hit print, and layer by layer it welds powder layers of powdered metal together. And then at the end, you can pull out of the bucket of powder the part, shake the parts out. He's using, kind of like colloquialisms at this point, because they're welded to a plate. So you take the plate out, you depowder the plate, you cut the parts off the plate, and you essentially have fully usable 100% dense suppressors through the EBM method. And essentially I realized that in that email, Doug, a member of another company, Wilson Combat, essentially, if no one prior to him had thought of it, he invented it in that email, disclosed it to me, a member of another company. And so the ticking clock for the patent started in 2009. And basically, we're going to show you some files and help you understand this stuff. So you're looking at the monolithic suppressor that we tested in January. So it's a printed suppressor, and it's in section view in SolidWorks here. So we see it's cut in half. And this was an assembly file saved as STL for print. And so in each area where we have overlap of the body, like this area right here, we would print a monolithic solid. So the vanes are attached, and each of these areas you see there's overlap of the baffle and the tube. Back here, the vanes and the mounting system. That's the factual reality of the position, is that Center Firearms patented something that had already been invented, and the patents are not enforceable as a result of those facts. And that's not my bias, that's not how I want to see it, that's just how it is. The not random patterns of holes we'd also printed, so we'd printed purposely induced porosity, as it pertains to not randomly placed holes in a metal 3D printed item as early as approximately 2010. Now, I'm not saying that we had any intention of printing foam. I want to say the government has a publication on, it's like silencer evaluation. It's very old, and they used porous metal. They also used screen pack silencers, which are similar to that. And I'm not challenging, like, if that's what the patent's about, it's about foam, printing foam in metal, then have at it. That is an idea that, is unique. The concept of patenting the method of printing would require you to be first, number one, but ultimately the reason why neither Doug nor myself, patented that idea was it just was so obvious to take a new emerging technology and use it in, the production of a part pertaining to our industry. That's a very natural concept. That's kind of like, we develop a new way to investment cast and we patent its use for boat propellers. Like, they're obviously going to use a new investment casting method for boat propellers. That's kind of everyday stuff. But at any rate, this is to help the companies that have unfair harassment by these patents to realize that they have something that they can defend themselves with. I'm not going to call it philanthropic. It's the result of a broken negotiation process with Ryder. He just wasn't somebody that we could communicate with. He wanted to talk on a phone, and it was like, I'm not in a negotiating mood. I did the thing before you, and you're not going to tell me that I can't do it, because that's not how patents work. Like, in the same way, if I grab a trademark that is somebody else's trademark and I register it and they come at me, I essentially should give it up because I will lose. And this is where we're at in that process. So thanks for sticking with us through the explanation, and I'm not here to bitch. This isn't about I'm the inventor of all things. In this case, we see that clearly Doug Olson is the original inventor of this concept insofar as we understand history, because I'm not privy to every disclosure that ever happened. I'm just privy to the ones I'm aware of. And so Doug disclosed this invention to me in 2009. And we used not randomly located holes, if that's what porosity is, in silencers that were printed in metal in 2010. But obviously the technology has come a long way, and these machines, are more than $750,000 today, but the scale of the industry has reached a point at which the machines are attainable for some companies to have, and that's why we see printed suppressors out there today. Thanks for watching.